Welcome back to Matt Time Podcast. We are here to break down UFC 239. We got John Jones versus Thiago Santos in International Fight Week, and we also have in the co-main Amanda Nunes defending her bantamweight championship, not the featherweight championship, against Holly Holm. I'm joined by Zach, Brad, and Brock. So, Zach, I'll start with you. Obviously, with those two title fights, but the main card, we have the first fight of the main card is Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa. What do you think of that?
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's good to be back for UFC 239 and with all you guys at Matt Time. Diego Sanchez, Michael Chiesa. You know, Diego Sanchez, he's one of those guys that he's fun to watch, but I'm also a little bit like, why are you still fighting?
Yeah. First season of The Ultimate Fighter, he was on, obviously, you know,
right.
One of the OGs. It's one of the only OGs left, and he has been picking up some wins lately, but there comes a point where you look at any guy past his prime.
How long ago was Diego Sanchez and the Carpenter Clay Guida?
Yeah.
You know, like that is the pinnacle of Diego Sanchez's career.
They're putting
They are putting that
past
fight into the Hall of Fame this weekend at this fight card.
Yeah.
And he is fighting a very good welterweight contender that just beat Carlos
Actually,
Condit.
no, I take that back.
He just beat Mickey Gall.
Yeah. So that
Gall
poses the question. That poses the question because he definitely seems like he's beating relevant guys. I think Mickey Gall is a relevant guy, and that's a very legitimate win in the UFC. But as a guy who cares about his health, as a guy who cares about brain trauma and things like that, when is enough for Diego Sanchez? Are we ever going to see him challenge for a title again?
I don't think so. And obviously he's fighting because he likes to fight, and you know he's getting paid and all that stuff, and that's all well and good. But you know, Michael Chiesa is a guy who can potentially contend for the title.
Yes.
He's a guy who has a pretty lethal bag of tricks, and Diego Sanchez is the same fighter that he's always been.
Now let me ask you this. Do you think Diego Sanchez's name is still big enough to warrant trying to build someone's run to a title?
Oh, like, are you saying that, like, Michael Chiesa can then use this to springboard?
Yeah, because I don't think Diego Sanchez is that
I think that
relevant
Michael Chiesa
now.
could use this fight to fight a top fiver.
Yeah,
Yes.
a win here will get him
A win
up
here gets him into a top 5 fight, which is what he needs. And then another win gets him into a potential title contention.
But beating Carlos Condit should have already done that.
Yes.
Yeah, but Carlos Condit is another guy very similar to Diego Sanchez. You know what I mean? And granted, you know, how is Diego Sanchez planning to win this fight? The way he always does?
Yeah.
Stand in the middle of the octagon, throw hammers,
Well,
and don't
Peel
get
the
knocked
stickers
out.
off the mat, yeah.
he has been fighting smarter these past couple
he-
fights. That's the thing.
He
He's
grappled
too.
Mickey Gall like a
and
son of a bitch.
The fight
like,
before that, I forget
Well,
the
he
name
can
of the
grapple
guy
his
he beat.
ass off too, but that's Michael Chiesa, and
Tell you
Michael
what,
Chiesa
though,
is bigger than him
Diego
too.
Sanchez, only man I've ever seen escape Marcelo Garcia's back control. Diego Sanchez read a book on that back escape. I'll tell you what. That might be his number one go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Chiesa, he's got some lethal jiu-jitsu. He can definitely choke you. And that's how I see the fight going.
As far as Diego's chances, I feel like he's in a very bad predicament to be fighting a guy like Michael Chiesa because apparently he left Jackson's this past week. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
I did read about
No, I
that.
didn't.
Nah.
He said there's no love there.
Yeah.
And this is
but
after
we've been hearing
Cowboy
about it.
After
Cerrone
Cowboy's been
already went on the
saying
Rogan
shit.
podcast and talked a lot about the misgoings of the Jackson
Here's
Link camp.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'll let you continue, Brock, but apparently I didn't hear or see this myself, but Diego had a problem with Cowboy in the way he left Jackson's,
That's
and
what I
now
was gonna talk
Diego's leaving Jackson. So I'm like, what is
I
going
did
on?
see Diego had a problem with that
He
as
like
well.
yeah, like he got all pissy, and I think he was like ranting on Twitter about it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for him to do that and turn his back on Cowboy, and then the same thing happened to him, it's like it makes you wonder like what's going on there. And I think what Cowboy, I don't remember 100%, but I think it came down to like a money thing or like a
No,
like
it
an
was
interest
really,
thing.
It had a lot to do with Wink.
Taking the power of the gym.
Yeah.
Jackson doesn't have much of the day-to-day power in the gym anymore.
He's not there apparently a lot.
Yeah.
And
back in the day it was just Jackson's.
So
and
what's
it was-
curious though, and maybe I'll bring this up now potentially, is we have 2 other pretty big name fighters who fight out of Jackson's on the card.
I was going to bring that up as well.
You know, could that play a role? Or, you know, does Greg Jackson know that, like, John Jones obviously is my number one, you know, racehorse, and I've got to give him the attention that
according to Cowboy...
Granted, if I'm Greg Jackson and he's in a position where I got to give John Jones attention or I got to give Diego Sanchez attention, you know what I mean? Like, if you stumble to a rock and a hard place there.
According to what Cowboy said, I believe Jackson still comes in for his time with Holly and with John and with the people at the top there. But Cowboy wasn't at the gym. Cowboy has his ranch. So that was a big player for him here. Diego is at Jackson's.
Every day, yeah.
Right. He might as well have a tent on the mats.
You think it's possible that maybe Jackson and company have kind of stated what we stated in the beginning, that, you know, you want to keep doing this, Diego?
It's possible, but
and maybe he had a problem with that.
We've never seen
that's
Jacksons
always difficult
do that.
For.
I
it
can't
seems
imagine.
Like it's difficult for a fighter to.
We've never seen Jacksons do that, and from all you hear is the business side.
I can't imagine them doing that because, like, the reaction to the last win of Mickey Gall, like, it seemed like they were very happy with the way he fought and everything. And
it's one of those things, as much as we try to follow the backstage storylines, I will say, with MMA, it's hard to tell the relationship between a fighter and a coach.
Right.
Sure, and at the end of the day, you know, we're throwing bones at each other, and anything can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, whether a fighter is completely repaired and another fighter's not. I mean, we've seen it many occasions where, you know, guys come in, they say they had the best camp of their whole career.
Yeah.
And
they lay an egg.
Yeah. And, you know, then you have a guy who's on this card, John Jones, who barely trains at all. You know what I mean? And just
now he
goes
is.
out. Now he is, yeah. But he
So,
just basically came in and did his thing. So, anyway, just to tie it up, my bet's Chiesa by submission. No, decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. When I break this fight down stylistically, the only thing that really worries me as far as Diego Sanchez's chances, I feel like the way he wins this fight, specifically with Chiesa, is to try to wrestle him and hold him down.
Right.
I don't think he wins a stand-up fight with Chiesa. I don't think he wins a straight-up jiu-jitsu fight with Chiesa in this form he is in now. He doesn't submit Chiesa. I do not see that at all.
No.
So I think that's the only issue I have. If I were to bet on Chiesa, I'd be worried about Diego's hard-nosed wrestling that he's used in his past couple fights. He used it against Mickey Gall, and I forget the name of the guy he fought beforehand, smothered him with the takedown.
So let's get a real quick pick from everybody on the fight and go to the next one.
Okay, so Zach has Michael Chiesa by submission.
And also, by the way, just to...
decision, sorry.
Decision, yeah. Just to touch on the betting a little bit, I got Diego Sanchez coming in right now at a plus 285, and Chiesa coming in at minus 345. That's, you know, a solid line. I think Chiesa has the advantage, and obviously Vegas does too.
Yeah, if I had to make an ultimate pick, I'd say the same thing. I think Chiesa wins a 3-round decision. I think he has the ability to finish Diego Sanchez. We'll see what happens, but as far as smart betting picks on that, take Chiesa's money line or maybe take an over. I believe the over would be 2.5.
Yeah.
I think Chiesa's gonna arm triangle him.
Arm triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His submission, Chiesa's gonna be on top. He likes that arm triangle.
Yeah.
That's how I see it going personally.
Brock, what do you think?
I'm going to say second round stoppage for Chiesa.
Yeah.
I think he might be able to put him away with a submission in
or
either late second
if he wanted
or
to.
early third. I feel like he could get a submission.
That's really the battle I need to see. I need to see how Chiesa handles the wrestling because I know he's not a wrestler, but these jiu-jitsu guys can surprise you with how their
I mean, it's
takedown ability.
MMA, it's not wrestling.
Yeah. So
What if Chiesa starches him? Just goes in there and
that
runs
can
through
happen,
him.
man.
I mean,
Chiesa could just go in and smash him.
Diego
However he
Sanchez
does it.
tend to block with his face.
Yeah.
And occasionally, when you're a guy who blocks with your face, that chin goes away.
Yeah,
and when it goes away bad. And
I know we'll move on to the next fight, but the thing, this is one of the things that really bothers me as far as a fighter going on too long. With a guy like Diego Sanchez, who's built his career off of his toughness and his chin, when you see his chin get cracked, which it has, Iaquinta put him to sleep. It was bad. when a guy builds his career off of taking shots, and then it finally cracks, it's like, I have a soft spot for that guy. I don't want to see him get hit like that anymore. That's why I'm hoping maybe if he loses this weekend, he might consider quitting, but knowing Diego Sanchez, that's probably not going to happen.
All right, so next fight that we got on the card is at light heavyweight, and Luke Rockhold is going to be fighting Jan Blachowicz. Yeah, Blachowicz. Right now, Luke Rockhold is coming in at a minus 175 favorite, and Jan is a plus 155 dog. Basically a pick'em. It's pretty close both ways. Brock?
It's kind of, who did Jan just beat?
He actually just lost to Thiago Santos.
He did. That's how Santos got this fight.
That was. Oh yeah.
He got knocked out.
Who was before that though?
He beat Jimmy Manuwa.
Yep.
That's
he won a
it was Nikita Karlov who he fought before Santos,
Blachowicz?
and he beat him with a
you're
arm
thinking
triangle.
Santos fought Manuwa.
Yeah, but
before
Blachowicz
that it
did
was
as well.
Manuwa.
Blachowicz fought Manuwa.
Just the way that Luke's been fighting
And
the
he
last
won a
couple
decision.
years.
Well, there's a couple things to consider, Brock, is that this is Luke Rockhold's 205 debut. He hasn't fought at light
He's been at
heavyweight.
85. Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions that gets brought up with that. Will his chin be better? Will it hold up better at light heavyweight? My biggest question is he going to fight better? We need to stop seeing the same Rockhold that backs up, puts his, always leaving his chin exposed. That's really the biggest thing I want to see is a new Rockhold. So, how do you see this fight going?
Well, Brock, what do you think, bud?
I think Jan might take it just because I haven't really been impressed with the way Luke's been fighting the last few years.
Sure.
Like maybe a fight. What was that fight before Bisping or 2 fights before Bisping since David Branch? I've just been like very I like the guy, but I don't know if he can get it done.
Bisping, then he beat David Branch and then fought Yoel Romero. He lost him.
Right, but like in the Branch fight, he got rocked bad.
He did.
I mean, he got his clock was cleaned out. Like he got. I don't know how he survived it, but
do you think that could be from weight cutting?
I really don't. I really don't think that that's what does it for him because even though he probably does walk around at like 210, 215, I don't know if it'll make a difference because that's just his frame. Like that's just who he is. Like normally it's those guys that have like no neck and they're just real muscular that can just take a punch. You know what I mean? Because their head's not like moving around. It's normally like the big lanky dudes that can't really take a punch. It seems like
when it comes to people's chins, I really like. There seems to be so many factors, and it seems to vary with different people. Like what causes a bad chin?
It's a strange alchemy of conditioning and body type and what you ate last week, and whether or not a butterfly is flapping its wings on the north side of Chicago.
So, I actually have Rockhold taking this fight.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the faster man, being the smaller 205er. Mm-hmm. I think Jan is going to look a little lumbery, like he doesn't move quite as quick as Rockhold does. Rockhold's also super heavy on top. Mm-hmm. And if he gets a takedown and he gets some type of top position, it's going to be a real bad night.
Yeah.
For Jan. So I have Rockhold winning a 3-round decision.
Yeah.
I have the same feeling that if we see a refreshed Rockhold at 205 where reportedly that weight cut to 185 had been killing him.
I mean, you look how big he is. It doesn't
He's
surprise
humongous.
me. He's a big guy.
I mean, he probably walks at 225
at least.
At least 225. So getting a new start at 205, if he can look like himself or better at his peak at 85 at 205, he might be a scary guy in that division and at least something interesting for John Jones to fight.
Isn't he coming off like a knee injury or something?
Something like that.
A knee and then a gash on his leg and a couple of weird
That's why he's been out
like
for a while. Like he's just had some weird injuries that affect him.
And they offered him a fight before apparently.
Oh, really?
And he had like a Versace ad or a Gucci ad or something, and he was
wasn't he actually scheduled to fight Weidman at one point in time this past year, and that was supposed to happen?
I don't know.
And then that's why Weidman faced Jacare. I think that's what happened.
Oh, maybe you might be right.
It might have been in the works. I don't remember that specifically, but yeah,
that could be right.
it may be just more of a hopeful thing because I can't prove that Rockhold will come out that way, but I think at 205, he's going to kind of cruise to a 3-round decision.
So, honestly, I've struggled to decide if this is my fight of the night or Askren versus Masvidal is my fight of the night because I'm honestly really looking forward to see how Rockhold does. He was one of my favorite middleweights.
Right.
I do think he has the most skill out of anybody at middleweight, just his pure, well-rounded talent.
And athleticism.
Yeah, he's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. Every time he uses it, we're like, all right, he does have that. That's great.
But it's like, is it like mental with him or like what is it
I
that
think
somehow
it is.
like he something like turns off sometimes.
It shows
and
you
he
that
just can't fight.
the truth of fighting is sometimes the most skilled guy doesn't win. Sometimes you zig when you should have zagged. You make one mistake, especially at those higher weight classes. I don't think Bisping was a better fighter than Rockhold. I just feel like Bisping showed up to fight. Yeah. And he landed a really good punch. I'm not trying to take anything away from Bisping.
His game plan was to do that.
Yeah, he came out swinging and he got it done.
I mean, you run that fight 10 times.
I feel like Rockhold wins because he beat him
times.
once.
Yeah.
He
Well,
beat Bisping
according
before.
to Michael Bisping, he's won it twice already. When Rockhold
They
was
sparred together.
when Rockhold was the Strikeforce champ, that was Bisping's big thing. When he was the Strikeforce champ, they asked him like how it goes. He said something to the effect of, "I don't want to talk out of school, but let's just say I'm the unofficial Strikeforce middleweight champion."
Yeah, that's what started the beef with those two.
Yep.
Wow.
So, getting my prediction of this fight, honestly, I know Blachowicz packs a little bit of a punch, but I feel like Rockhold is a way better striker than him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is going to be Rockhold's chance to really like rebirth his career.
Definitely.
I think he's going to beat the shit out of Blachowicz, if I had to be honest. I think he's going to finish him. I don't know if he does it on the ground. I don't know if he knocks him out. We'll see. But I feel that I can see in the future we're going to hear about a potential John Jones versus Luke Rockhold fight because
it's brewing.
205 is shallow, and
yeah, it is.
Rockhold is
Weidman's on his way up too.
Marketable Versace guy.
I mean, if Rockhold can get it done, it puts him against. Arguably, that fight will put him in the top 8 or top 10 or whatever.
Easily top 8.
And Shogun's still up there in that top.
Yeah, so in that case, he breaks top 8 or whatever, and.
So I don't know if he gets a knockout or submission, but I do think he gets Blachowicz out of there within 3 rounds.
Being a former champ himself at 185, if he sleeps Blachowicz and then sleeps his next opponent, let's say I don't know,
number 6 or
maybe he gets Santos if he loses to John Jones.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Santos puts up a pretty good fight against John, let's say, but then Rockhold sleeps him. Like,
see, but that fight scares me. That's the thing about 205 with Rockhold is like. These guys just hit so much harder.
They hit really hard.
Rumble was at 205 at one point.
Right.
I mean...
Rumble's at 170 at one point.
Right. He was killing people.
Could you imagine actually
being that was a different man.
Could you imagine actually being 170 pounds and then Anthony Johnson steps in the ring across from you? And you're like, come on, man. Like, that guy was 70.
I know this is like the improper term to use, but like... It basically was like you're fighting like a chimp. Like that's a wrong term to use, but like he had to be the most compact muscle you have ever seen.
There was
in
no
one
fat.
setting.
I mean, it's like him and Yoel Romero. Like,
it was like you were just fighting a muscle
factory.
factory.
Okay, more on topic. Jan Blachowicz is currently number 6 in light heavyweight. Above him are Dominic Reyes, a retired Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and a Daniel Cormier that may never come back down to 205.
So let's say
I wouldn't be mad at an Anthony Smith fight.
And
that's the one I would have put in
Smith
there.
And sleeps Anthony Smith.
That's the fight I would like to see after this.
That's a good fight.
Because Santos against Rockhold scares me, to be honest. Because, like, look what he did to Manoa. I mean, he had him on ice skates in, like, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And Luke, I mean, yeah, you look back at the David Branch fight, and he was able to, like, weather the storm. But that... I'm sorry, but that was like luck. Like
if
he
Luke's
fought
on his
through
shit,
that,
he doesn't get hit by something like that.
But he's so strong. Like, look at the way he defended a takedown against Jimmy Manoa, who's another huge muscle factory.
Also retired now.
He just pushed on his neck, dude. He blocked a double leg on the fence by just grabbing him by the neck and just pushing him away.
You think Santos could just hold Luke Rockhold up against the cage and hit him with uppercuts and stuff?
See, that's the thing. He did it to Manoa, so that's what makes me think he might be able to do it to a guy like that. Since
Manoa was a boxer.
There's a lot of questions to be answered about Luke Rockhold at 205.
This fight is so interesting because of that.
That's why I'm looking forward to this fight so much, is because so many questions get answered.
I picked Jan, but I'm a big fan of Luke. Like, I actually like Luke. It's frustrating being a fan of his. You know what I mean? I just don't know if it's going to be as good for him as people think it's going to be. So I'm just like skeptical. I don't know.
All right, so moving on. Third fight of the card at welterweight, we have Jorge Masvidal fighting Ben Askren. What's interesting is, to me, Jorge Masvidal is kind of just like a younger version of Robbie Lawler.
Yeah,
like they're both like guys who have pretty good takedown defense and throw death at you.
I'd say like a 2008 Robbie Lawler, whenever he first jumped on the scene. Like, that's definitely
similar guys.
More refined though. Refined, but the same mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just maybe Masvidal doesn't get as hot-headed as
No,
Robbie
he's
does.
definitely not hot-headed like that, though.
Yeah.
He has his, like, moments, but he's not, like... He doesn't go complete bro mode, like, he doesn't...
What's interesting to me about this fight is Masvidal's past fight history, and that his two most recent losses are against specialists, in Damian Maia and Stephen Thompson. And... in both those fights, he seemed hesitant to pull the trigger. I think because he knew that these guys were so much better than him in one certain area.
Yeah.
Even though he's probably the more well-rounded fighter. Now, again, you have a guy in Ben Askren who's a crazy specialist. He's a really serious wrestling specialist. And is that going to cause Masvidal to beat himself? Because that's what seems like has happened in some of his recent losses.
Well, you get a lot of the analysts and stuff nowadays saying, like, you mean, like, early MMA and stuff, everybody was one-dimensional. Everybody had their one martial art. And now you're getting the guys who are, like, Stephen Thompson. I don't want to call them one-dimensional necessarily, because they do have other things.
No, but they're
not
specialists
great
in
at
an
it.
area.
But they are specialists. So, technically, they're one-dimensional. And everybody's saying, like, to be a top contender in MMA in 2019 and 2020 and in the future, like, going on, you can't be one-dimensional. You have to be good at everything. And I agree to an extent. But, like, if you know for a fact that guy is so, like Stephen Thompson, he's so long, you can't hit him and you can't close the distance to take him down. Therefore, you're stuck in this middle ground and you're just eating jabs all day. Or, like with Ben, the way I think Ben might be able to get it done is he might be able to close the distance. Obviously, his striking isn't on the same level. He's going to be able to hold off, I feel like, until he grabs him. Jorge's a good wrestler. I'd say one of the better wrestlers at the weight, right? Like, I think he's...
But does it matter, though?
Not against Ben. That's
right,
the thing.
that's the only thing.
Anybody else, he's the wrestler. As stupid as that sounds, you'd be like...
in a weight class like 170... with Usman and Woodley.
Well, you got your
there's
guys
a lot
at the top,
of good wrestlers up
right.
there. Well, that's who you
But
got
where
to be
he's at.
in the compare. He's
Has
number
Ben
5
closed the
or
distance
number
without
4.
getting hit with one of those hammers?
No, but he also took them from Robbie Lawler, which makes me think he could take it from
Barely.
Jorge. But he still did it.
Barely took it.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah.
Also, there was the wackiest scramble in the history of MMA.
But that's what he does.
Well, not really, because then what happened in that Rose fight? That was
That's
kind of a
not
really
a
similar situation,
scramble.
right?
Well, similar.
Similar, like, pick up and slam.
Yeah, it was just the way Askren engaged with the upper body clinch on Lawler was one of the sloppiest things I've seen him do. I feel like
it's not a good MMA technique.
Yeah,
if you're
I just feel like he was so confident in his grappling. He didn't think Robbie had that, and he didn't think Robbie was going to do that.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so when he shot that John Cena attitude adjustment on him, it was
incredible.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask everybody a question, but first, Zach, I wanted to ask, how do you see this fight playing out? Who do you think wins?
It's a tough one. I would agree with you that I think it might be fight of the night.
Yeah.
If Jorge wins, it's going to be by knockout.
Yeah, I feel like he has to.
If Ben wins, it's going to be by
Grinding
decision.
him out or possibly catch a submission.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we're going to know probably real quick how the fight's going to go, because if Ben hits his first takedown,
it's going to be very hard for Masvidal to finish him after that.
to get back up, and then he's going to be tired, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
And do you still possess that power to be able to put
Ben
Ben
hits
away?
his 3rd takedown.
Yeah. I mean, the only issue is Jorge hits hard, and Ben,
does.
I agree with Nick in that Ben's chin was just hanging out there when he tried to shoot it.
I don't think he has a choice, bro. You looked at him.
Jay Leno says, "Damn, that's a big chin."
Dude, I mean, he literally looks like a Greek statue.
But
His face.
I'm gonna
Makes
go.
Brock's chin
I'm gonna
look
go with the
small.
grappler
Right.
on this fight in the end, and I'm gonna say Askren by decision.
Well, when it comes to Askren, obviously with his grinding style, once he gets into 5-round fights, I really worry about his opponents. But it raises another question I wanted to ask you guys. Ben Askren is close training partner, close friends with Tyron Woodley, who is the former welterweight champion, and he is bucking for a rematch. He's not going to get it, but obviously he's still in the title picture.
Yeah.
What is going to happen if both of these guys just keep winning? What happens? Neither of these guys seem like they want to move weight classes.
I
Gold
think
makes
Woodley
the
moves to
difference.
185.
Woodley either moves or they just have an agreement that
I don't
you know.
even think they
Put it
can
this
do
way.
That
Woodley
you can have,
is
what,
in
that you can have the belt
Milwaukee
on
at
Monday,
Rufus
Wednesday,
Well, no. Like
Friday,
if,
and I have it on Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday.
if say Askren gets the fight before Tyron gets the rematch, if I'm Tyron and I don't want to move up a weight class, I say, you know what, man, like if you win the belt, I'm not, I won't fight you, but you fight, you keep fighting for that belt. I'm gonna keep that like top contender spot or whatever. If you lose your belt, I'll take my title fight, or vice versa. Like I lose the title fight as Ben.
I think I
You
see a more realistic idea of
Because
Tyron
that's what
moving up,
happens,
because he's already
though.
kind of talked about it,
Yeah,
and Tyron's got
he's got the frame
no
for it,
body
I
fat
guess.
to lose. Whereas Ben, he could trip up and be very comfortable.
Ben talked
at
about
170.
55.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's just one of those guys who just doesn't have.
Ben's at 170 because he's fat.
Well, he's
You know,
like
it's
he's like
he
DC,
could fight
like-
185 with a six pack, 155 with a six pack.
but he's one of those guys that can't get a six pack. Like he's just not built. His muscles aren't built like that.
Not a
think so?
six pack,
Not
but
a
he
six-pack,
could lose
but-
weight.
I mean, look at DC. Even at 205
Yeah.
or lower, DC just doesn't have that body.
Well, I
But
would
the thing
argue
is,
with
But that
DC.
boy eats though too.
Yeah.
he's still
mean,
dad
DC
strong.
shouldn't have trouble cutting to 205.
I
I'm
agree.
sorry.
No, I
I'm
agree
not
with
trying
you.
to sound like some armchair quarterback over here, but the fact that he had struggles getting to 205 is ridiculous.
It's
he
a,
is 5'11". There's no reason that Daniel Cormier should not be making 205. You know
the
what I mean?
man's 40 as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's been his whole career he's struggled making weight.
Yeah, it's him.
So,
So did Henry Cejudo.
I mean, I
If
don't
we
know
want to
Daniel
talk about
Cormier
guys
personally,
struggling to make
but I've
weight.
just seen some embeddeds and stuff, and I think that man
He eats.
puts some food away.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Almost
I'm not hating
definitely.
either, because
yeah,
so do I.
I like
but,
to eat.
You know what I mean? I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Eating is my favorite thing to do. So
right.
honestly,
But I know why I don't have a six pack, and it's probably the same reason why he doesn't.
Oh, same reason I don't.
So,
about
so
tacos
So yeah, so
right
in the end,
now.
I got Askren winning by decision.
Yeah,
3-round fight.
I see the same thing. Honestly, it's hard to see anything different. I think Askren will fight a lot smarter than he did against Robbie Lawler. And as much as I like Masvidal, and I don't want either of these guys to lose.
Okay, guys.
I'm
So
gonna take Askren.
I agree 100% with what everyone says, but Masvidal's going to spark him.
You think so?
There's a
chance.
It's one of those. You ever have one of those feelings?
yeah.
I get one every card about a certain fight, and I'm not always right.
Oh, I see. I
But
could definitely
Masvidal's
see
going to spark him.
I
think it's gonna
Askren
happen.
shot and a Masvidal uppercut.
well, but here's the thing:
And-
Askren doesn't take shots.
right.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't shoot on Robbie Lawler once. He tied up upper body, did like a little duck under, controls his upper body, and just fucking throws them to the ground like a dog that puts something in their mouth they're not supposed to have. Like that's exactly what he does to people. He grabs their upper body and he's so goddamn strong. There's no way that you're breaking that grip. And the second he's got that grip right under your armpits, he's just gonna throw you on the ground and ragdoll you. He doesn't need to shoot a shot on you. He's never really been that guy to shoot a
You
shot
got him
on
personally?
somebody.
You think he's got it?
Yes, yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
I
Dude.
100% agree with everything
I
you
shook
just
that
said.
man's hand.
I feel what you're saying,
I-
though, Brad.
You know what I
telling
mean?
you, like,
Right.
I 100% agree with everything you just said, and all of that is correct, and I think you're right. And for some reason, I
But
just
your
feel like,
spider sense
that-
is telling you.
yeah, man, it's fucking weird.
That is why I love the sport, Brad. That is why I
mean-
love the sport.
Jorge Masvidal is a plus 200 underdog.
That is worth betting.
That's worth betting.
It is 100%.
Just because it's
I
the
would
money.
bet on it.
You know
I
what
think
mean? Just
Ben's
because
gonna
you're
win, but I
getting
would bet
2-1.
on it.
Yeah, you're getting 2-1.
On a guy who has fucking dynamite in his hands. And
Yeah.
it seems like he keeps doing this where he gets into fights and people are like, oh, the other guy's going to win. And he's like, what? Boom. He fought Cowboy in Denver. He said, "Wait, oh, he's gonna win. That's cute." Darren Till, he fought him in England. Same thing.
Unless it's Al Iaquinta.
Yeah. So, all right.
Fucking fought my ass off.
Now, moving on to the co-main event and the ladies. We have Holly Holm fighting the Lioness, Amanda Nunes. And Amanda Nunes is now coming off this previous fight against Chris Cyborg in one of the craziest barn burners of all time. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what she did to Cyborg. It was incredible. I mean, sitting in the pocket, throwing hard, straight punches, and dinged her like 12 times.
Yep. Some of the best boxing I've seen in an MMA fight.
And do you want to know the difference that won Amanda the fight, in my opinion? Rewatching it a few times, even like slow-mo clips. Mm-hmm. Which one of them put their hands back up and blocked?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda. Guess who didn't block a single punch? Guess who didn't try to block a single punch?
Cyborg was throwing everything from her hips.
Yeah.
Hooks from her hips. And Amanda...
Not a single time did she try to block a punch.
Cyborg hasn't had to do any of that.
Yes.
In
She's never had to do it
long
before.
time.
I agree, and that's... I'm not saying that's the only reason Amanda won. Amanda won because she's a better fighter. But... that's what makes her the best, in my opinion.
It certainly could have been more competitive if Cyborg fought with those fundamentals, but like we just said, she's never had to do that.
That's not how she wins.
She likes being the hammer. I think she
wins by mauling.
I don't think it was one of those things she got rocked and went to instinct. I honestly think she made a conscious decision, like, oh, this bitch just fucking hit me. I want to hit her the fuck back.
Yeah.
And she kept
That's
saying
what it
that
felt
every
like.
time she got hit. She's like, nope, not going down like that. And then eventually it ended up with her laying down. But
yeah, it's like an ego thing. Like no one's ever dropped me with a punch before, and you're not going to be the first one.
yeah.
Let me
That
just keep
being
swinging on
said-
it because it's worked the last 20 times she's done it. You know what I mean?
More than likely, this fight is going to go with Amanda Nunes putting hard pressure on Holly Holm, really getting up in her face, and I think using dirty boxing, potentially maybe even some grappling and jiu-jitsu. Let's not forget Amanda Nunes is nasty on the ground, and I think that she would have a clear advantage over Holly
Definitely.
on the ground. So if you want an easy way to win, nothing that anything is easy, but a situation where more than likely you are the more skilled fighter in this arena of grappling and on the floor, she can win that way. Now, if
Holly
she
gets
stays
on
on
her
her
bike-
feet and she's just like dead set on trying to knock Holly Holm out, and like you're gonna touch on, Holly Holm gets on her bike and she really circles off really well, and she's got to fucking fight long. I mean, she's the taller woman, she's got the longer reach, and if she can keep Amanda on the end of her jab and make it to like the 4th or 5th round after Amanda's been chasing her for 3.5 rounds or so, and maybe he's tired, she can land a head kick and end it. That's
That
how
Ronda
Holly can end the fight.
That Ronda script almost applies completely to the Amanda Nunes formula.
Yeah, but Amanda hits a lot different.
Yes, that is the big X factor that I was going to
She
bring
hits
up.
about
grappling.
3 times harder.
I hate to say it, but Amanda's grappling for MMA anyway is
For
better
MMA
than
is
Ronda's.
Yeah.
Judo is all well and good, and it has some uses in MMA or in no-gi where you can't grab on any handles. You can definitely hit some judo throws. You see some people in the UFC that have done it brilliantly. That being said, traditional, more Greco-Roman wrestling and that style of grappling tends to be a little more efficient.
In Ronda's fight with Holly, there were a couple moments where she did have some opportunities at ground exchanges, but two of the biggest things I saw was, obviously she was trying her hip tosses. A girl so long like Holly, she was like, no.
It's not happening.
Well, it's not just that.
It's the
Holly did
leverage.
something very simple. Holly simply used her forearm against Ronda's hip
And got her
to
hips
keep
out.
Ronda's hips away from Holly's, because Ronda's got to jump in and get those hips sucked up against yours to be able to toss you.
That was the first thing I saw, was obviously she doesn't have many good entries on takedowns besides her hip tosses. She doesn't have double legs. She doesn't shoot. The second thing I saw, she had a few opportunities to, get dominant back position on Holly. But what does she do immediately? She goes for her spider web position off of, referee's position, basically. She had her on all fours. She immediately shoots for the armbar. It works on some chicks, but especially when she was doing it for so long, she immediately slipped out of it. If she knew how to control
What would have been
position-
better for Ronda was would be the threat of the armbar that leads into something else.
Yeah.
Because it's on Holly's mind. You know, it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So if you can make her think you're going to go for the armbar, but then you really go for your triangle or something like that, that's who can really catch somebody.
All of these
sleeping.
things relate to the reason that Ronda really lost that fight is because she mentally didn't go into that fight the right way.
Right.
And we saw that at the end of Ronda's career again with Amanda. Amanda was...
And that's her, in my opinion, her coach's fault.
Yeah, oh, well, we can blame
Yeah.
coaches, we can blame everyone. At the end of the day, Ronda chose to train with those people. She chose to pay those
Correct.
people.
I mean, without thinking, if everybody's going to yell out worst MMA coach of all time, who would you say?
Edmund.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, I'm not saying that
almost
Ronda.
ubiquitous.
I'm not saying Ronda wasn't egotistical and wasn't like she fought very emotionally because like look at the Holly Holm fight. She lost that fight before they even closed the cage door.
Yeah.
She lost that fight at the stare-off.
Exactly.
Stare-down.
Yeah, that's what Dana White said. And you can see a lot of these fights end at the
That's not
stare-off.
Amanda, though.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
that's
no,
the
no,
point
that's
I
the
was
thing.
coming back around to.
Yeah.
That'll
All
never
of these
happen to her.
similarities to the Ronda fight and the Ronda game plan, you can't expect Amanda to come in.
Amanda's too calculated. To do
Yes,
something like
Amanda throws straight
If Holly, like I said,
power.
Holly can use jabs, and I feel like body kicks, you know, that long kick to the body that she likes to throw, she can really utilize that. She has a chance to
that.
win.
She has to use.
But you got to weather the storm of Amanda.
Yeah.
You know, the dirty boxing of Amanda potentially, the strength. Like like Chris Cyborg's strong, you know what I mean. But Amanda's like subtly strong.
I mean, look at when they
Holly
hit each
is
other.
strong.
Yeah?
Also,
Okay.
Holly is strong.
Probably because
Well,
she's so lanky that
When you're
Yeah.
long, you have like a certain leverage.
She's
that-
got that leverage
Jones.
strength as
Yeah.
well.
You're not jacked, but you just have like a certain leverage that
Yeah.
people are gonna have.
If I'm a betting man, which I am, the only thing that worries me with Amanda Nunes, because she is my pick for this fight, is the conditioning aspect. Because we've seen her gas before, which she
Yep,
gassed
bad.
against Valentina Shevchenko. It really in both fights. She did better in the second fight as far as pacing.
I don't
and-
think Holly's going to gas.
Yeah, Holly's
doesn't.
That's
I
my
don't think
thing.
Holly will gas either.
I'm going with Amanda. I think Holly's going to be there for all 5 rounds. Is Amanda?
Amanda's gonna be there for 2.5.
Yeah. I think, and this leads to my pick for this fight, which is Holly, that, yes, I actually will pick Holly in this fight because I
appreciate that.
think Holly can weather the storm. Holly has been in there with every kind of striker, and if Amanda doesn't get this fight to the ground, I think Holly is the right kind of fighter to I don't want to say outwork,
Well,
but
she's a counter
work
striker, and
longer.
Amanda Nunes is going to come forward.
Exactly. So Holly's got the right style. She is that kind of specialist. She's the right kind of specialist to defeat the pressure fighter, and we saw her defeat what was the ultimate pressure fighter in Ronda Rousey.
It's Cyborg, really.
Well, yeah, Cyborg
I mean,
is
to be honest with you, the more
a
we talk
mauling
about it-
force, but what kind of pressure is there greater than a fight that's never gone more than a minute?
True. But the more we talk about it, to be honest, like the more I start to see
That's-
Holly's potential. To
That's
win.
why
Yeah.
I've turned around
Um,
from being...
I mean, it's really close. Like, I guess I'll stick with the Amanda pick. But
Yeah.
I mean, if the fight goes over, I don't know what the over under is. I don't have
I
it
would
in
imagine
front
it's
of me.
probably like 3.5.
3.5.
I'll
Do you
take a
have
look.
it pulled up still?
I just have the
You can
lines,
see
not
from
the
there. Yeah.
The over
not the over under though.
Okay.
But anyway, it's all going to come down to can Holly survive those 2.5, 3 rounds potentially.
Mm-hmm. Holly's going to have has a lot on her plate
She does.
especially to survive the first and second round.
Right.
You get into the third round, and Holly has found her rhythm, which I think Holly has a unique ability to refocus from whatever loss or whatever she's coming off. I don't even remember. She's coming off of a loss, I think. Isn't she? Or only one win, but a bunch of
The
loses.
last fight I remember is the Betch Kohea fight.
She did just flatline Betch, didn't she?
That was a while ago, though.
So what is she coming off of? Because I know that it's not all wins.
Holly is coming off of a win over Mary McGee.
Dog, you are definitely looking at her boxing
I'm
record.
looking at her boxing and not her MMA record. Like, when I said it out loud, I was like, who's that person? All right, Holly's mixed martial arts records. She's coming off a win over Megan Anderson.
Yeah,
Oh,
She
she's
lost the Cyborg.
Yeah.
The Megan Anderson
And
fight.
before that, she head kick punch comboed Mexico hand.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Into
there was
sleep
that
mode.
3-fight loss streak
Yeah.
she
So,
came off of, even though she didn't lose the
Zach,
Durand
if you had to
fight.
make a final pick, you're saying Nunes, even though you do give.
Yeah,
Holly
I'm going to stay with the champ.
Brad, you're taking the bold pick. With
Yeah,
Holly.
I guess the bold pick again, or at least against the green again today. I'm going with Holly by decision.
Brock, all things considered, I talked about the possible conditioning scare with Amanda, and definitely Holly's championship pedigree. She's been there before. What do you think? How do you think it plays out?
I'm still going to take Amanda. I think she gets it done just because that's what she does. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I think she'll find a way to do it.
Right, and I know it comes down to like Holly's length, and she's really good at keeping people out of range and stuff like that. But I don't know, Amanda's just like she's just different. Like she's a lot stronger, a lot faster, hits a lot harder than any other woman I feel like Holly's ever fought. So it just makes me believe that she's gonna be able to do it within the first two rounds.
A question for you guys. So obviously, as it stands right now, I think Amanda Nunes deserves the title as greatest women's fighter of all time.
Definitely.
She beat Ronda Rousey. She beat Miesha Tate. She beat Cyborg just now. Does she need this to solidify her status as GOAT? If she loses, do you still call her GOAT? Because Holly's definitely not.
Right.
Holly could start to
Make an argument.
make an argument. She beat Ronda. If she beat Amanda,
Yeah, the only issue is Miesha. Because
Yeah.
Misha's retired and you can't get that one back.
Right. But obviously she can build past that.
Could you...
is Holly really
Holly
that
would have
far
to...
off?
This is what would have to happen. Holly would have to beat Amanda
And go on
then
a run.
beat Cyborg. And revenge that
I
loss.
agree.
With like a KO head kick or something like that. And then GOAT, maybe.
She would have
But
to
right now
really
it's Amanda.
campaign. Like
Cyborg may not be in the UFC anymore.
Right.
She may be leaving. That's another thing to consider.
Cyborg, I hear, is trying to become a pro wrestler.
Oh.
I heard she's doing some pro wrestling work at least. I don't know if she's going to go full pro
And they're
wrestling.
paying her ridiculous money. Or
Oh,
they're
yeah.
attempting to pay her
Japan,
ridiculous
yeah.
money.
But if she pro wrestles in Japan, she'll definitely be fighting as well.
Not even Japan. There's a local promotion, not local,
U.S.
National.
U.S. promotion that AEW, All Elite Wrestling. She went to their show, and it's Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
One of the, I guess, I don't remember if he's a partial owner. I think he's a partial owner / like president CEO type deal. But he got interviewed about it, and they were asking about Chris Cyborg. Like if she wanted to become a pro wrestler, and that's something it seems like she actually likes. Like she genuinely likes it.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically left it at put it this way, if she shows that she's gonna put the hard work in and learn the business and everything, then we'll bring her in. And she even went to their most recent pay-per-view and was just hanging out in the crowd with people.
I mean,
FaceTime in.
that's interesting.
Right.
That's
And it makes
putting
you
it out
think,
there.
she's kind of done the MMA thing. She's been on top for so long.
She could be done if she
Drawing
wanted to
people,
be, for
and-
sure.
I think she is.
I think
Yeah.
that was closure for her. That's the end.
Do you want to end it on a loss, though?
Some
On a
people
loss like that?
find
Some
closure
people are
in
just
that.
They're
hey,
good when they're good.
I'm out. I'm out.
That Brazilian pride, she gave it to another Brazilian. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, she's oddly okay with that.
Speaking, though, of Brazilians, we got a Brazilian fighting John Jones.
Yeah. So,
Thiago Santos. I don't know if you can get any more Brazilian. I
Maheta.
don't know if you can get any more Brazilian than
Thiago Santos.
Thiago Santos.
Dude,
Yeah,
he
those
has
are
a
the two
hammer
most
on his
Brazilian
chest,
names I can
so.
think of that aren't Silva.
Basically. Yeah. I mean, you got the GOAT, John Jones. Yeah, I think without a doubt, he is the best in the world. I honestly think that John Jones could fight any man in the world and win at hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I think Thiago Santos has this fight because there's nobody else to fight him. Is Thiago
There's
Santos
kind of
really
a lull.
ready to fight John Jones?
No,
I don't
he's
think
just,
so.
He's just the next guy in line.
He's just the next guy in
and
line.
obviously, we just looked at the light heavyweight rankings. It got two retired guys, a guy that really doesn't fight at light heavyweight anymore, and Daniel Cormier. Like you said, it's just next man up. And I feel like with John Jones, with everything he's gone through, with the legal trouble of the hit and run and the failed drug test, I feel like it's almost like they're trying to keep him on a consistent fight schedule so he stays
are,
out of trouble.
Right.
I honestly
he
think
expressed that he wanted to fight more frequently again too, because he knows
He lost a lot of time.
he
a
lost.
lot
Well,
of
he
fights.
lost a lot of time, and he lost a lot of. It's sort of respect, but it's just that shine
Legacy.
you have.
Legacy.
But it's not his legacy, because when you go back and look at in hindsight, you see that murderer's row that he just bulldozed straight through.
He went through some serious talent.
But he had that shine on him from the consistency that he had. And he just doesn't have that same glow, and he's trying to re-earn it after all the trouble he's had.
Mm-hmm.
I think after that, I'm almost like Glover. After that Gustafsson fight, that to me was
He's like
not only is he
refocused.
back, he might be better.
Yes, for sure.
You know, I mean, he went right through him in that third round with the quickness. When they got to the ground, it was a more savage ground and pound that he had.
John
that he made
Jones.
his mark with. You know, John Jones made onto the scene, holding dudes down
Elbowing
and
the shit out of
smashing them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure John Jones wears a blue belt, maybe purple.
He might. Either way, though.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Then
No, that's what
he
I'm saying.
got
He's only
into-
recently gotten into
The gi.
jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
and the ground game proper.
Well, you look at the fights that he had with Gustafsson, the first one, Teixeira, and Cormier. All guys who have really good takedown defense. Cormier and Gustafsson especially. You know, at least Gustafsson in his first fight.
Gus
you know.
took him down.
Exactly. So John's, like for a while now, John's been getting it done on the feet and striking. And it wasn't until we saw this last fight against Gus did we see John get back to what got him to
Yes.
the dance. But except this time, he didn't stay in guard. He didn't even stay in side control. He made like 3 transitions into mount and then just killed Gus. Whereas in previous fights, he probably would have sat in guard. Like I watched the Vitor Belfort fight. Granted, Vitor Belfort probably has a better guard than Alexander Gustafsson and better, side control escape. But granted, John didn't make much of an effort to pass at all. Against Gus, he hit a pass in a side control. He looked for a crucifix, and when Gus defended it, John went for a 3/4 Nelson, hopped over into mount, and then smashed him. And I think he could do that to Santos.
I think he can do that to just about anybody. And that's
Basically,
kind
anybody
of
not
what...
Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at, that John Jones has embraced jiu-jitsu, so it's not a pure wrestling-based attack. There's passing now on the ground. There's more setups. He already had just about everything.
He already had submissions. I mean, let's not forget that
Well, he was a
strangled.
stud wrestler too in high
Yeah.
school and
Yeah.
college. Like, he
And
was
let's
a
not
stud
forget that
wrestler.
he Kimura'd, or was it Americana?
The Americana
Vitor.
Vitor,
And then strangled
he slept
Machida.
Lyoto.
Machida with a standing guillotine, strangled
Bader.
Rampage with a rear naked choke.
Rampage beat Bader with a guillotine.
Beat Bader with a guillotine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those fights
so
right before
it's
the
not
title.
like he never had these skills on the ground, but he's now taken to refining them. And to think that this guy, at this point in time, still has somewhere up to go is kind of terrifying, but definitely awe-inspiring. And he's the GOAT, or him and GSP are 1A and 1B.
It's hard to say, man.
I mean,
I think about that
The
almost
more
every
you
day.
think about it,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about John Jones, he's the best. But if you think about what George St. Pierre did,
Yeah.
he's the best. And
What, lose to Johnny Hendricks?
I did think Johnny Hendricks lost. I mean, it should have won the decision, but
that was
looking back at it,
a
I think,
close as hell fight, and Johnny Hendricks was
My
on
man was
all the juice.
Yeah, he was on some Mexican supplements. It's one of the many examples.
Yeah,
of
but
what-
so was GSP, and he was getting all fucking lubed up and shit in between rounds.
GSP had some sketchiness.
Dude, he had his coach fucking spitting on his back and rubbing it in
one
and
of
shit.
I look at GSP's opponents. The Josh Koscheck's and
They're
the
not-
Matt Serra's.
They're not.
And I love Matt Serra. But you look at the athlete that George St. Pierre is, and you look at the athlete that Matt Serra is,
And
they're
Josh
very different.
Koscheck was never going to win the title.
Okay.
He was
And,
never that
but
guy.
then you look at the people that John Jones has fought,
Sure.
and he's fought,
Animals.
I think, just straight.
Yes.
Like, I honestly think Daniel Cormier is the second best fighter in the world.
Yes.
So the fact that
Maybe
John,
ever.
So the fact that John has beat him twice
Mm-hmm.
is like, that's how much better John is than everybody
Yes.
else.
And I agree with you there, and understand that I see the hole in the argument that I'm about to make.
Okay.
But GSP lost to Matt Hughes, came
Right.
back
Beat him
and beat him
twice.
Okay.
twice in that case. Lost to
Matt Serra.
Beat him.
came back, beat him. Probably would have beat him twice if Matt Serra still had knees at the time.
Okay.
For whatever reason, that kind of resiliency and coming back and then retiring on top, whether or not he just edged out Johnny Hendricks or should have won that fight, I feel
He
like...
looked like he got drugged behind a horse at the end of that fight. Johnny Hendricks.
Yes, and Johnny Hendricks was beat the shit up too and got taken down in the end of the last round.
And may have tapped.
Yeah, so there was
guillotine in the second round, right?
May have tapped.
So
there might have been a little Brazilian tap in there.
Yeah, so it's all gamesmanship.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I love to say this guy won that fight as much as as anybody else, and this person really won this fight. At the end of the day, everybody says it to me, so I'm going to say it now. That says W right next to him on the record there.
Yeah.
Whether or not he won. And he went out on top at 70 and then came back again
So that's why he's your
and
goat.
185. Just the resiliency, the longevity, and John has gone away and come back arguably 1.5, 2 times now. For whatever reasons.
For those
and
picos.
and that same kind of resiliency, John just needs to do... I mean, he might... If he wins this fight in...
If he wins this fight, he goes to heavyweight.
And if he goes... There we go. There's the argument I need. If he goes to heavyweight and wins the belt there, which I don't... Who's going to beat him? You pick 2 of them.
People say DC has a better chance at heavyweight, but I honestly don't think he does.
I think
Every
DC
single day that passes
That's what I was about
in
to say.
time,
Yeah.
in our timeline, in the world we live in, DC has a less of a chance of beating
Yeah.
John.
Just because of
agree.
time. But at heavyweight, DC had his best chance. I don't think they ever fight again.
He has the best
I don't
chance
think
at
so,
heavyweight,
yeah.
but I hate this idea just because he knocked out a Stipe that was standing right the fuck there for him to hit.
Well, they were in a clinch.
Yeah, they were in a
He
lazy
wasn't standing
clinch.
right there.
They were in a lazy clinch, and
all right.
you'll never see John Jones.
DC, watch that again. I don't know the last time you watched that. Watch that again. DC put him there, made him do the escape he did and limp arm out. And DC even talks about it. When he gets people to do that limp arm, he goes for that hook.
Overhand, yeah.
He clanged him for sure.
So DC made him do that.
Yeah.
but yeah,
And as
I
much
mean,
as Anderson makes you move and then hits you,
So
or
Santos-
anything else.
So I'm not trying to take anything away from DC's victory because I think he's going to beat Stipe again when they fight in August. But I do think Stipe is the most accomplished heavyweight of all time. But I don't know. That fight kind of showed me where
DC's
the lines are drawn. Chael Sonnen has made an argument about this before. I think the light heavyweights are better than the heavyweights.
I agree.
And the heavyweights, they're supposed to be this mystique that they're the baddest men on the planet.
And that came from boxing.
Yeah.
It's
Well, think about
because
this.
heavyweights don't have to cut weight and get
I
in
think
shape.
DC could have been the heavyweight champ from the jump
Against Kane?
if Kane wasn't in the division.
Right.
And they weren't boys, and that's why he went
Yo,
205.
I don't 100%
think-
believe that Kane beats DC.
I think that DC could have been running that division since he got there, but he went to 205 because his boy was the heavyweight champ, and he could make 205, and Kane probably can't.
Kane definitely can't.
And that's why.
All
But,
them
but if
empanadas.
DC started in the heavyweight division, he probably could have ran it.
Yeah, I don't think
And we would have
anybody was
seen
beating
him
him.
and John fight at a heavyweight because he would have to come up. And
At
we
this
could've made a super
point,
fight.
DC's
But-
too old. He's missed out on that Brock fight because Brock is retiring from MMA, aka could not pass a USADA drug test.
Yep.
And John Jones, unless John Jones wins this fight and calls out DC and says, I'm coming to heavyweight, and they fight in December, I don't think they ever fight. And DC's got that
I don't think they
Stipe
will.
fight. So
I don't
unless
think
they
will.
cancel the
And
Stipe
to be
fight,
honest, I'm not all that
I don't need
excited
to
for
see
either
it
way.
because
I've seen it twice.
Yeah, and at this point, there was a point in time at heavyweight where DC maybe could have done it.
So this Jones-Santos fight is going to be pretty cut and dry.
Yeah,
just to wrap
that's
that
what
up.
I was gonna. I'm laughing because we're sitting here talking about a potential John and DC fight. Like it's right.
Like
around
Sanchez
the corner.
isn't even fighting.
But this is
But anyway, at the end of the
what
day,
it is.
Sanchez is going to have to hit John with a hammer.
Bro, he's got one on his chest.
It better be
first or second
Mjolnir,
round.
dog.
He's gonna
It
pull that
better.
thing off and hit him with it.
Yeah, and
It
it's
better
got
might
be
to
have
Mjolnir. Yeah.
Still
That's
wouldn't
his
knock him
only
out.
chance.
and it's got to be in the first or second round before
Oh, yeah.
John wears you down. And and drags you into deep water.
I mean, we thought
also, but at the same time, John has got good footwork and ridiculously good kicks that keep you off of him. He's fought guys who hit hard before. It's nothing he hasn't faced before.
we thought
I see John Jones via TKO in the third.
we thought Anthony Johnson was going to do it.
You mean Anthony Smith?
Anthony
he never
Smith.
fought Anthony
Yeah,
Johnson.
no, he's a 155-pound man. No, Anthony Smith. We thought he was going to be the one to knock John's head
Glover,
off.
maybe.
We
Glover.
thought,
He's fought guys
He
who
never
hit
fought
hard.
right, but I'm
Hendo.
talking more recently, with the new John Jones or whatever, where he's a lot more refined and everything. It's at this point, there's almost no way.
Yeah, I
in
don't
my
think you
opinion,
hit him.
there's no way that anybody beats him because of the way he fights, and
The only way
his
Santos
body type.
wins is
it's got to be
simply
some
because
crazy
MMA is a crazy fucking sport and crazy things like that happen all the time.
We'll talk about his X factor of power like anybody else, but honestly, I don't look at him as a knockout threat because every one of his wins, it seems like he's in a firefight against
Exactly.
guys that are not
Yeah.
as good as John
and they
Jones.
both stand there and just throw bombs.
John
at each
can
other.
get hit, but it's if John
It's a grazing
engages
punch
like
or a
that.
jab.
Well,
He doesn't
and
get
if
hooked.
John engages in that way, and if he's
he's
smart, he's not going to.
He's
and
not.
you
He's gonna
really
hit you
got to
with-
think it's going to be a third round finish.
He's going to hit you with teeps. He's going to hit you with leg kicks and oblique kicks.
He's gonna
and a
hit you
jab
with-
It's
and a
gonna
body
be a
kick.
typical John Jones
Yeah.
sparring session.
And you know what? If I could see Santos getting tired in the third or fourth round and getting a head kick,
Yeah.
or
So,
again, I could see him getting held down in the third round or so
because he
and
gets
getting elbowed
reckless.
to death.
He gets
Mhm.
reckless.
Yeah.
That's kind of his thing.
He kind
It-
of needs to.
He
does.
exactly, but that's what he always does, and it if you're preparing for that though, if you're a guy like John who's had guys
Just
do
gonna
that,
calm
And
that right
Vitor,
down.
and he did.
He's just gonna hold you.
Vitor was all about that,
right?
especially when he fought John.
And he didn't even have a chance to even come at John hard.
He
John
came,
controlled
sort
that
of.
fight
John
on
came
the
right
feet
at
the whole
him.
time.
Mhm.
Just kept him off with the long shots. You can't get inside on him.
John
That's
could go right up. Could
Santos' problem.
engage.
Santos, I'm not
Right
gonna
in
call
the
it a luck.
grappling.
I'm not gonna call it a lucky punch, but he needs to land a perfectly timed, perfectly placed punch.
So, I think the main thing with this fight is just how John Jones wants to approach it. Does he want to do what he's done before, where he fights the guy's strengths? He fought Chael Sonnen and he out-wrestled him just because he wanted to. Does he want to go in there and prove a point that he can knock out this brawler? Or does he want to take his jiu-jitsu approach, like you were talking about earlier, Brad, is that he's really refined his
I
jiu-jitsu?
think he's gonna grapple the shit out
I
of him.
hope he takes the easy way out, but I think we're all in agreement here that John Jones is going to win, probably in dominant fashion, and we're looking forward to a DC fight that caps off International Fight Week. That might be an underwhelming main event for an International Fight Week, but
Is it though? It's John Jones.
yeah, it's John Jones. I
It's
think
the show, man.
I think the hype is going to be around the fights beforehand, but
Let's be honest, we would much rather be watching Tony Ferguson versus Habib Nurmagomedov as the
It's
main event
coming.
of
I would
this card.
I would sacrifice
It's
a lot
coming.
to see that. I'd probably sacrifice a limb to see that.
Seriously, at this point, I still want to see Dustin get his shot.
If I
but,
can make one fight, that's the fight I make.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if I'm
whoever
making
wins
Wish
that
Foundation.
fight, and we'll get into that at another time, but whoever
Right.
wins that fight needs to fight Tony. Whoever it is, either way, they need to fight Tony.
Regardless.
But wrapping up for today, everybody's got John Jones winning this fight. Brock, do you have a pick of a round real quick or a finish, or are you just?
I'm gonna go crazy here and say second round TKO.
There
Let's
you go.
with that.
Nick, do you have a round and a finish real quick?
I don't think he's gonna have anything to offer him, Santos. I don't think he's got anything skill for skill to offer with John Jones. So I'm gonna agree with Brock that it's gonna take him no more than 2 rounds. He might even
There you
get
go.
him in the first. But
John finish in a first or second round situation
yeah,
there.
it's just like I said, it depends on what John wants to do in this
Yeah.
fight. So
I got a third or fourth round TKO. I think John wears him down in the first round or two, and gets him tired, gets him moving slow, beats up that front leg, beats up the body, and then hits a takedown and smashes him.
Yeah. So, with that said, this is the Mat Time podcast for UFC 239. And until next time, we'll see you on the mats.